So this is a quick guide on how to get started in this game. Let's take a look at our first daily task from Dr. Bao. He asked for 2 level 0 signals and a satellite report. Getting the 2 signals is probably the most difficult part of this, so let's first talk about that. Let's go to this coordinates panel. If you hit shift, you'll run a scan and you'll see nearby signals. The smaller the red arrow, the closer it is to your current crosshair, so you just want to kind of move towards those signals first. And as soon as you find one indicated by a white pulse, you hit enter and you will ping the signal. And there's a chance that it will fail. If it does fail, you're just going to have to find another signal and ping it. If not, then you should hear ping successful and your satellite start moving towards the signal to download it. So now you're done with the coordinates panel and you can go move to the download panel right here. While the satellites are moving in place to start downloading the signal, you can't really interact with it. It says no signal right here, so we're just going to have to wait until that happens. So this panel has 2 steps, polarity and frequency filter, and they both work in a very similar way. Basically, both of them generate this random number, and you have to move the filter towards that target number. And keep in mind that the steps are completely independent of each other, so one does not impact the other. Go ahead and flip these 2 switches right here, otherwise the knobs are locked and you won't be able to make any adjustments. The knobs on the top control the polarity filter, while the ones on the bottom control the frequency filter. So you can grab one of these knobs with E and use your scroll wheel to adjust the value. And as you do that, you'll see that the line starts spinning on the polarity filter. What you can imagine is that the target number is somewhere along the edge of the circle, and you want the line to stop right where that target value is. It doesn't matter which direction the line is spinning as long as it lands on the target number. You can make little micro adjustments with the knobs to change the rate that the line spins at and even halt it. So let the line do a full lap around the circle and you should see output data spike up to 100%. Wherever that 100% is, here it looks like it's on the top left quadrant, is where you want the line to halt. So I'm just going to make some adjustments with the knobs to get the line to stop at that value. And I think 90% or so is fine. Anything above that is better. Chances are while you're doing this, you'll see output data still at 0% all throughout the circle. And the reason for that is there's a knob on the left that tweaks between 3 different modes. And your target value only exists in one of those modes. So you want to keep the line spinning as you toggle between these 3 different modes until you find one where output data does show some kind of value. So I'm just going to toggle between the modes here, and you can see that output data is 0 for the other modes except for 1. Okay. So now you just want to look at the frequency filter. None of the polarity or anything like that matters. You just have to care about these bottom row knobs. And your target number is going to be a value between 0 and 1000. So you can see that the filter offset is at 0 now. I just moved it down to 0. And I'm going to go and run a gentle sweep from 0 to 1000. And you can see the offset speed is basically increasing your number by 210 units per second until it hits 1000, and it stays at 1000. So we're going to gently guide it down, and we can see output data starting to go up. So now we're just doing little micro adjustments until we get the near the target number, and then we're going to stop the filter by changing offset speed to 0. And there we go. So now the filter is running at a steady like 99%. And this means that we're okay for this step. You would want to save your signal, but the problem is that you still need to download the rest of the signal. This takes quite a bit of time. There is this red button right here to delete the signal if you don't want it, but honestly I think you should pretty much never touch it. The other thing to know is that you shouldn't go ahead and download another signal by going to the coordinates panel again. It'll just overwrite the current signal you're working on and you'll lose all your progress downloading it. And if you try to save and quit your game while the signal is downloading, you'll lose the signal and all progress involved in downloading, and you'll have to start over at the coordinates panel, so don't do that. Just wait until a later step. So we're just going to go ahead and sleep while this signal is downloading. And always use the bathroom before you go to sleep because it restores a little bit of stamina. It can only be used every once in a while, but whenever you can, just use it. So we just finished sleeping. Let's just get up and check how our signal is doing, and we are at 100%. So once it's at 100%, you can hit this yellow save button, and it will save your signal into the next playback panel. So you can see over here on the right, there's nothing. Hit save, and bam, your signal's right there. You can use the scroll bar right here to select the signal that you're interested in playing back. It's only useful when there's multiple signals. In this case, we only have one, so there's nothing to do. Just move it over the signal. And you're going to hit this yellow button, and you could hear the signal. So when you hit play, you're just going to hear a lot of noise at first because the signal is unprocessed. And we'll talk about processing the signal later. One of the first things you also want to do when you get to this panel is hit this blue button right here. It will save your signal to your computer. The reason why this is important is that you want to save these signals later so that you can reprocess them a little bit. So let's go to our computer and look at the signals tab right here. And you can see the last signal is unknown. If we go back to our playback panel and click save, we will go ahead back to the computer and you will see your signal right there, the asteroid signal we just downloaded. Now all that we need to do is get a drive to put the signal on and deliver it to Dr. Bao. When you grab an empty drive with E, you can move the drive further back by using your scroll wheel. This is kind of helpful because sometimes the drive doesn't really want to cooperate and get inside the slot. So we're going to go ahead and hit this green button, and you can see that the signal got removed from the computer into the drive indicated by the green light. And if you hit import again, it goes back to the computer, and we're just going to get it back on the drive again. So now we have a level 0 signal to send to Dr. Bao. We're going to pretend that there's 2 of them, and we're going to grab a box, and I'll show you how to ship it to him. You want to just grab it, hit open, and move the lid. Go ahead and grab the drive and insert it inside the box, and it should pop right in. Then just grab the lid again and place it back on. So up until now, we've only been working with level 0 signals. The last step involves processing the signal to remove any noise. The drives with a single green light means it's at a level 0 signal level, and any number of blue lights indicates a certain level of the signal. The higher the level, the less noisy the signal is, and you get more interesting things in the story unlocked. So we're going to try to take our level 0 signal over here and try to process it to remove some noise, insert it, and we're going to run the import. So it moves the signal off the drive back into the processing panel, and we're going to hit process, and it's going to get rejected. The reason why is that you need to upgrade your signal's computer level. So if you go to signals and scroll at the very bottom, you can see that you have 0 points in it. I'm going to go ahead and throw 1 point in. And now we're going to go back to the processing panel and hit process. And it should process just fine. This also takes some time, and you can go ahead and sleep and do other things while this is happening. The cool thing is you can also search for another signal in the coordinates panel and begin another download while this is processing, so you can kind of build up a nice queue. Whenever you unlock a higher computer level, Dr. Bao will start asking for more processed signals. What you can do is take signals that you've downloaded previously, like this asteroid signal. I'm going to go to my computer and copy it, and it goes right back into the playback panel. We're going to grab a drive and put this signal back on the drive. The yellow light on the drive indicates that the signal is a duplicate, so you have another drive somewhere, or you sent it already to Dr. Bao. So it's kind of meaningless to resend it. What you're going to do is take the signal and put it into the processing panel, and you're going to process it at a higher level. And when that's done, you took a signal you downloaded previously and process it to a higher level. So when Dr. Bao says, hey, can you send me a level 1 signal? You can take signals that you previously downloaded, process them, send it to him, and skip the downloading portion, which actually takes a big chunk of your time. So it's a good idea to save any signals that you come across so that you can reprocess them later as you unlock higher computer levels. So now let's talk about the satellite report, which is way more straightforward in my opinion. The task for today is to get a satellite report for Whiskey Yankee Hotel. Somewhere in your base you'll find a poster that shows you where the satellites are located, and it's kind of a good idea to go ahead and scope out which order you should be doing these things in the most efficient way. Not to min-max or anything, just to get the most out of your time. It kind of sucks to get lost in between satellites. So what you can do is go to this console right here, and you're going to type in sv.target and the satellite that you want to look at first. In my case, it's going to be hotel. And this sets your compass, the little red indicator, towards that satellite. So all you have to do is go towards that red direction and you'll eventually land in that satellite location. The game gives you an ATV, so don't go trying to run to the satellite. And as we approach the satellite, the compass is getting a little bit tighter, so this is probably the one. And you can double check by looking at a little panel right here that it shows you that this is actually a hotel. And once you climb up, you'll find a terminal, and all you have to do is type in sv.hash, and it'll spit out the hash code that you need to enter for today. What you're going to do is pull out your notebook, and under templates you can hit report, and it will automatically fill in which satellites you have to do for today. So in case you ever forget in your email to check your email which satellites you have to do, you can always do this. And you're going to enter the hash code that was returned by the console. And once you're done with that, you can go back to the console for the satellite and type in SV target, your next satellite you're interested in my case Whiskey, and this will set your compass to that target. I'm going to pretend that I already did these satellites and we're interested in getting back to our main base, so what we can do is run sv.target alpha, and this sets our compass to point towards our main base. And if you want to reset your compass back to its original orientation, where north is north, south is south, then you can just type in SV target reset. Once we have the full report ready, all you need to do is take out your notebook, tear out the page, and you're going to grab the page that just got torn out. And if you hold left alt and you click left click, it will throw the page. What you can do is just point towards the box and throw the page on top of the lid, and it should stick to the lid, and you're ready to send this to Dr. Bao. To send the box, just place it in this little loading zone right here, and you're going to go to this panel, open, and call the drone. Keep in mind that if the drone is busy doing other things, like it sends in a daily package to you, and sometimes if you're ordering something, it might take an extra trip. It can only do one thing at a time. Something important to know is that there's these 3 transformers that decay over time the more power you use. And if any of them go out, then the power in your base goes out and you basically can't do anything. So I ran a tr.check command to see the health status of the 3 transformers. If any of them hit 0, then we lose power. So tr1 is a problem. What we can do is set sv.target towards tr1 and go ahead and fix that. Now if you do lose power because one of these transformers breaks, then you won't have access to this console or any console in a satellite. So you can't really run the SV target command to find out where it is, but what you can do is you can drive over to the transformer. From there you'll see one of the power lines attached to the transformer has some blue lightning indicating that it's broken. All you need to do is follow that power line, and eventually it will lead you to where you can repair the transformer. To repair the transformer, all you need to do is press this button and keep pressing it until you see the power indication back at 100. Otherwise, you'll partially repair it and you'll have the same issue in 5 minutes. Once you repair the transformer, you have to go back to your base and flip these circuit breakers, otherwise you still won't have power. The last thing I wanted to talk about was maintaining the satellites. So sometimes the server on the satellite end breaks, and if you run sv.ping, you'll see which satellites have issues. Right now we have issues with November and Romeo. So essentially these satellites, the more of them break down, the slower your download speeds are. So you can just set sv.target towards that satellite and play the little server mini game to repair it. This does take some time, so you don't have to go crazy and repair every single one that you come across, but good to stay on top of it. The other way a satellite can go into disrepair is you have to calibrate them occasionally. So if you run sd.cal_all, this attempts to calibrate every satellite, and you want them ideally to be all at 100%, otherwise it'll slow down your download speeds. And when you run sd.cal_all, it tries to do this until it reaches a satellite that's unreachable. So again, November was a problem satellite, and because of this, it's unreachable. What you can do is calibrate around it by running sd.cal space and the next server that would appear, so let's try Oscar, and this should go ahead and calibrate the other satellites that are reachable until you reach another issue. Occasionally you might drive yourself into a river. If this ever happens, just grab your ATV and hold space and your character will basically dolphin dive out of the water. The handbrake is way better at stopping the ATV, and if you ever find yourself flipping out of control, you're way more likely to stay on. You can make a lot of money by selling trash that you find around your base. The way you can do this is buying one of these item boxes. You can go ahead and sweep any trash you want in one single place using a broom, use a trash bag to pick it up, throw it in the item box, and then you can send it off using the drone. You can also use a sponge to clean any kind of grime you find on the walls. Don't forget to use the scroll wheel to move it further away from you to get hard to reach areas. If you're ever lost and need to find your way home, you can look for the big radio tower, center of the map, and that should lead you straight to your base. You can also follow signs that are labeled base, or you can follow one of the power lines, but it depends on which direction you'll follow if you'll end up in your base or at a transformer. If a plug is stuck inside terrain, in the back of the appliance there's usually a toggle button that retracts the plug back and resets its position. If you ever need to push a desk against a wall, it's way easier to do with an item in your hand and knocking it into the wall than trying to grab onto it and make micro adjustments. You can buy a chocolate coffee bar really cheap that restores both food and stamina. It's a really good idea to carry one with you always, because if you ever find yourself low on one of them, instead of collapsing your way back to base, you could eat it and get back.